Now, I want to talk about the consequences of this for Israel, United States, and for Iran. And as I said to you, I believe that Israel was the big loser here. Now you're saying to yourself, why is that the case? Number of reasons. First of all, the Israelis are back in Gaza. They got out in 2005. Ariel Sharon, as you all know, is no shrinking violet. He's at least as tough an hombre as Benjamin Netanyahu. He pulled out because Gaza's a hornet's nest. Well, the Israelis are back in Gaza. They have no way of getting out at the moment, and they have no solution to the problem. They've made Gaza unlivable. What are they going to do? The Palestinians are not leaving. What are they going to do? They're running the place. They're in deep trouble. Second reason the Israelis lose, you have to understand how the Israelis think about deterrence. And this is a very smart way of thinking about deterrence. I'm not being critical of Israeli thinking here. What the Israelis believe is that their deterrence depends on escalation dominance. Escalation dominance. That means if somebody whacks me and I whack them back, I whack them back harder than they initially whacked me. In other words, as we go up the escalation ladder, I dominate. Escalation dominance. The best example of this is in the summer of 2003, Hezbollah killed a few Israelis. This is up on the northern border. Hezbollah killed a few Israelis and kidnapped an Israeli. Okay? The Israelis massively retaliated. And Nasrallah, who is the head of Hezbollah, said, I think 2 months later, Nasrallah said, if I had known what the Israelis were going to do in terms of retaliating, I would have never allowed the attack on July 12th, 2006. That's escalation dominance. Do you understand? It's very important. From Israel's point of view, they have to make it clear to all their neighbors that if you whack us, we'll whack you back harder. It's now very clear the Israelis no longer have escalation dominance vis-a-vis Iran or vis-a-vis Hezbollah. They cannot shut down the conflict with Hezbollah on their northern border. It's really quite remarkable. The Israelis are hitting Hezbollah very hard, and Hezbollah is responding. Hezbollah has 150,000 rockets and missiles, and those numbers will only grow with the passage of time. 150,000, right? So the Israelis are limited in what they can do. And with regard to Iran, I described to you what happened April 1st, April 14th, April 19th. That is not escalation dominance. I'm sorry. That is not escalation dominance. And furthermore, they needed the Americans. You all understand. I'm just sort of diverting from the path I'm on for 1 second. If you look at what's happening in Gaza, the Israelis could never conduct that operation in Gaza without American support. Not even close. And all sorts of Israeli generals say that in the Israeli press. They cannot, by themselves, produce the weaponry to conduct the operations they're now conducting in Gaza. They need us. And what I'm telling you about what happened on April 14th is they needed us. You hear all this talk about Iron Dome and their ability to shoot down missiles. They cannot do it alone. Iron Dome is not that formidable defensive system. And furthermore, given cost exchange ratios, the number of missiles that the Iranians and Hezbollah have, Iron Dome over the long term in a fight is just not very useful. So from a deterrence point of view, the Israelis are in real trouble. So my first point is they're in real trouble because they're stuck in Gaza and they have no solution to the problem. And number two, their deterrence has been badly weakened. Number three is it's very important to understand with the coming of all these missiles and the coming of drones, it's now possible for actors like Hamas, the Houthis, and Hezbollah, and Iran to develop the capability to hit Israel and cause enormous amounts of damage. And lots of people who live in Israel are not very comfortable with this situation, right? The idea that they are exposed to adversaries, and these are formidable adversaries. I don't want to make light of the fact that groups like Hezbollah and groups like Hamas would like to finish Israel off. They would. No, these are really tough hombres. And what's happened here is that with the passage of time, right, missile capabilities and drone capabilities have reached the point where it's quite easy for actors like that to employ those weapons to create a real threat for Israel. The fourth way in which Israel is in trouble is that it has effectively become a pariah state in ways that it never was in the past. If you look at what's happening in the United States and all across the world on university campuses and college campuses, this is just evidence, whether you think what's going on is right or wrong, that Israel's reputation has been badly tarnished. Just if you think about the fact that South Africa took Israel before the International Court of Justice, and the International Court of Justice found not that Israel is committing genocide. They didn't find that. That is yet to be determined. But what the International Court of Justice did find is that there is sufficient evidence, there's enough evidence to think that Israel might be committing genocide. And if you look at polls inside the United States, it's truly remarkable how many people, especially Democrats, believed that Israel is engaged in genocide. There's a recent poll that shows that 56% of all Democrats think that Israel is committing genocide. Think about that. 56% of Americans polled think that Israel is committing genocide. There's another poll that talks about Biden voters, that shows that 57% think Israel is committing genocide. 27% are not sure. 57% think Israel is committing genocide. 27% are not sure. And then 15% do not believe Israel is committing genocide. This is quite remarkable. When I think about how I thought about Israel, and virtually everybody I knew thought about Israel when I was a young boy and I was a young man, and how virtually everybody I know now thinks about Israel, a fundamental transformation has taken place. It's really quite remarkable. And the idea that the Jewish state is being accused of genocide is really quite remarkable. This is a sign of big trouble. And the use of the apartheid label is used increasingly. And this is not going to change because the situation in Gaza is not going to get any better. That was one of the points I'm trying to get through to you. There is no solution on the horizon here. If anybody asked me in the question and answer period, what would I do to fix this problem? I could tell you what the answer is now. I have no idea. Let's be very clear on this. Categorically depressing. But anyway, I think that from Israel's point of view, what's happened to its reputation is disastrous. And I don't think it's going to get any better over time. So this is why, these four reasons. Number one, the fact they're stuck in Gaza once more. Number two, the fact that their deterrence has been weakened because they don't have escalation dominance. Number three, the fact that they're surrounded by adversaries who loathe them, would like to destroy them, and who have increasing numbers of missiles and drones that can cause them lots of trouble is bad news. And number four, the pariah state argument. Now let me conclude by talking briefly about the United States and talking about Iran.